Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another video, and today we are going to talk about one of my favorite stocks to cover on this channel, Draftkings, ticker symbol DKNG. And so let's go ahead and get right into it, as we do have a lot to cover here. And so Draftkings, in my opinion, has been way oversold and also has a very limited downside, but a huge upside in my opinion. And so now, in terms of recent updates, Draftkings as a business has been busy regardless of how bad the stock price has been. I mean, in recent days, Draftkings launched its sportsbook in New York and also just recently became the sportsbook provider for the Oregon Lottery, which is good because it shows us that the company continues to expand its operations. Now, in terms of sports betting as a business, the industry has a great deal of momentum right now. And so over the next month, and even currently right now, the NFL playoffs as well as the Super Bowl will be taking place. And going off of history, especially last year, those two events normally drive record sports wagering volumes in the United States, as many viewers in many states will be betting on football as well as watching it. And so it's very important to remember, guys, that Draftkings isn't too worried about its 2022 financial results. I think that's very important to understand as a Draftkings investor. Now, of course, every publicly traded company wants to beat revenue estimates each quarter, but the main focus of Draftkings right now is on gaining market share. Ultimately, there's a lot of competition right now. However, the online sports betting industry will likely be dominated by a few major players, which means that some of the companies here today may not be here in 5 years, and that's very important to understand as an investor in Draftkings. And so it's imperative that Draftkings maintain its market leadership position so that it can make the right moves when the industry's weaker players step aside. Draftkings needs to have sufficient financial resources and a reputation that's strong enough to be able to snap up weaker rivals. And, once they look to sell themselves to their competitors, similar to what we saw Golden Nugget Online Gaming do, that'll kind of help put Draftkings in a better spot, because that is something that I do see happening in the future. I do think that within the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to kind of see some of the weaker players either go bankrupt or just kind of phase out or get bought out by somebody. Now, if Draftkings makes the correct moves, it should dominate the sports betting market probably within the next 5 to 7 years. And so my message to all Draftkings investors is to have a long-term outlook on this investment and let this 5 to 7 year scenario play out as Draftkings continues to take more of the market share. In my opinion, Draftkings will eventually become the industry's #1 sole leader. That's really what I think is going to happen, but it's going to take time. Now, I'll be honest, the company is still quite a few quarters away from becoming profitable. And yes, this is a big concern for investors, but I do want to go ahead and touch on how a lot of people talk about how Draftkings has to spend so much money on marketing in order to generate revenue. So in my opinion, I believe that over time, Draftkings will be able to lower its marketing cost as customers become more accustomed to the platform and some of the smaller gaming companies start getting bought out or exiting the industry. So I think a lot of investors who think this way about Draftkings and make these criticisms aren't taking into account that within the next 3 to 5 years, maybe 5 to 7 years, there will be significantly less sports betting players in the industry in the future than there are today. And so either way, that's going to be a multi-year process. And now analysts on average expect the company to remain firmly unprofitable through at least 2024, if not longer, which I do agree that's pretty risky. But as long as the market continues to favor profitable companies over unprofitable companies, you could definitely expect Draftkings stock to continue to struggle until we see a rotation back into the riskier stocks, which we'll see that eventually. It's just, who knows when it'll happen. But, for investors willing to play the long game like I am, Draftkings stock at its current price may be worth a second look. And I think it's definitely something to consider. I mean, to be honest with you, I have no idea what the floor is. I don't know what the bottom is. I don't really look at it that way. Even if Draftkings were to go to $15, $12, the way I look at it is this is a great company that is probably going to be the #1 sports betting company in the world in the future. And so as long as DraftKings continues to tank in price and continue to go lower, I'm just going to keep buying more. You know, I don't really think too much about the stock price that much. You know, I don't really look at it as, oh, I'm going to lose all of my money because I'm investing for the next 5 to 7 years. You know, the way I look at it is, I think the DraftKings is going to be a big deal in the future, and I've got all the time in the world to be patient because I'm investing money in DraftKings that I can afford to lose. You know, it's money that I don't need right away. So I'm still very bullish on DraftKings. I think it's just going to take a while, but I think once DraftKings finally becomes profitable and once more of these states start to legalize sports betting, I think it's going to be game over. And I think DraftKings is going to show you guys what I kind of have been thinking all of this time. And so that'll go ahead and conclude today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.